So hold me close, nothing lasts forever. Oh, when I go, will you remember?
Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I've got Exjw Rion with me here today. You might know her. She's TikTok famous and getting on all the atheist activism platforms on YouTube now. How you doing today, Rion?
I'm doing really good, thank you. I'm excited to get to know you and talk to you. Thanks for inviting me on your little world. I appreciate it.
My little world, yes. Welcome to my dungeon.
Oh, well, again, I might have to exit left. No, thank you very much. I'm glad to be here, and I like spreading the good news of JW's doom.
Yes, that's a great thing.
The gospel of the doom.
I invited you on today because I thought we would just share some general experiences that I think they don't have to necessarily be like bad experiences or anything like that, but just quirky stories from being inside the JWs. And there's just all sorts of just stuff that's not bad, but when you look back at it, you like scratch your head and just be like, you put all the pieces of it together and it all adds up to a larger picture of what the JW organization is like. And it gives you more of an insider perspective that people looking in from the outside don't get to usually see.
Right, 100%. It's the day-to-day stuff they really don't understand.
And so I think it's good to have perspective from both a male and a female in this type of thing, because the way men experience things inside the organization is completely different from the way women experience things inside the organization. Right. And I'll start off with a story to kick it off. I was 13 years old. That's right. Ice, ice, baby.
Baby.
And I got baptized when I was 13.
Oh shit.
And yeah. Yikes. I know. If I hadn't just woke up a little bit ago, I would have a drink to that one. An alcoholic drink, not just my coffee.
Yeah, I got like a little bit of wine left in here, so I'm gonna cheers for you. How about that?
Thank you. And so I was out in field service one day, and there was this sister who, at the time, she was like another mom to me in the congregation. Of course, I also had a big crush on her daughter too, who was my age. And so, I was always trying to be out in service with her, because that's, the only way a young JW boy can
spend time with
people.
Right.
And
alone time at the door. Ooh, getting it on.
Or you just hope you get in one of those like vans and you all get the back seat of the van.
Yeah, you spend some time talking, right? Yeah, and, there you go. Ugh.
Yeah. And we were in a parking lot, arranging groups, and I was still freshly baptized. Here I am, a 13-year-old boy, and this story really goes to show the patriarchal, misogynistic side of the organization. So this sister started organizing the groups. Looking back, she absolutely should have done that. She was the older person, she had the experience, etc. And I stood up to her and I said, excuse me, sister, I'm the baptized brother here. Shouldn't I be taking the lead? Yeah, I'm not proud of it. And as she looks at me, she goes, "You know what? I'm sorry. You're right. You should be doing it. I'm so sorry."
Wow.
I'm just,
Wow.
and of course, at that time, I'm in my head, I'm thinking, it's okay, but this is the way it's supposed to be. And, I kind of felt, got that little, oh yeah, I got that little
Right.
power,
That little zing.
that little zing, to boost my ego and
Little
all that.
pep in your step.
A little pep in my step. That's right.
Oh man.
And looking back at that now, I'm just like, really? You got children telling adults what to do?
Right. And that's acceptable?
And that's acceptable. Yeah. And she like
But it
apologized
was.
and yeah.
She probably
And was
felt
like,
guilty.
oh yeah, absolutely she did. I will tell you 100% she did. Just because that's how she kind of person she was,
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a shame, but that's how that's how it is. A young boy can have more power, control, authority than someone who or anybody really, that it doesn't necessarily have to be an older woman, but any woman of
Yeah.
any age, doesn't matter. You've got authority. That's
And I'm gonna say probably at the time she was maybe late 30s, early 40s at the time, the sister. But like it wouldn't have mattered had she been somebody in her 70s or 80s. It would have been the
right.
same difference because she was the female and I was the baptized male person in the group. And that's it.
Wow.
So you could have a little child leading a senior citizen, and it's just crazy when you look at the structure of things like that.
So did you end up getting the groups together?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean,
Did you do what she had suggested, or you
that's a good question.
changed it up?
I don't remember.
Not sure.
I'm not sure. I remember that part of the story.
Right.
I don't
Because
remember.
that was the most important part.
Yeah, that was the most cringeworthy part of it, I should say. And I don't remember like
not the important part.
cringeworthy. I don't remember if I
Cringeworthy.
went by her suggestion or not. I just remember you need to let me take the lead part of it.
I am important.
Yes, I am.
I have God's Holy Spirit above you. Wow. Well, I hope you've repented.
Well, I have by turning atheist heathen. I have repented.
Okay, well, see, there you go. All is forgiven. That's
right.
Now throw a donation into the box and you're good to go, my friends. All's good.
And by box, that means my own bank account.
Yes, nobody else's.
Yeah, because I don't.
Nobody else's. This is all about you and self-care now. No. Oh man, so I guess I have to tell a horrible story from what happened to me.
Yes, we can call this story time with Ryan.
Story time with Ryan. Okay, so I have a cringe one, and it's only cringy because, well, here, I'll tell you the story, and then I'll tell you why I think the story is cringe. So it's not often, at least for me as a J-dub, when I was a J-dub, to be able to go on outings. Did you get to go out and associate with kids often? Like what was your social schedule like?
My social schedule?
For me, it wasn't too often. Yeah.
Meetings, service. But I mean, we did have parties. Our congregations did have like annual picnics that we did. We would have, the brothers would go play sports together. We would play, some of the brothers actually would get together and play full on tackle football with no protective gear whatsoever. So that was fun.
Dang.
Okay. And like baseball and stuff like that. So we did a lot because we had, in the area I grew up in, I was in just north of Tampa, Florida. So we had a lot of congregations around that area. And so even between the congregations, the brothers would get together and play games and stuff. So we had a lot of that going on. But go on with yours.
Because we used to do that kind of stuff too. For a while, I moved a lot as a kid, so I wasn't always in the same congregation. So different congregations are different. I'm sure people, well, maybe people don't know that, but not every congregation is the same. And one particular congregation, we would have picnics and stuff like that during the summer. But one of the gatherings, supposedly people had drank too much. Supposedly, it was nothing that I could have even remembered was bad. And we weren't allowed to do it anymore. They said we weren't allowed to have the gatherings anymore. Why not just make them dry gatherings instead of like not being able to have them anymore? But anyway, getting together was something that I didn't get to do as a kid too often. And so when we did get together with groups of kids, it was obviously like the best time of my life, because that's the only kind of social time, social skills, social anything that you get, because you don't really get it at school, right? So
Mm.
a group of us kids get together. I believe I was 13 or 14. So same age as from your story. And there had to be about 7 of us kids with a chaperone, of course, but the chaperone was an older, like, witness, like they were of age where they could be considered a chaperone age, but still like wanted to hang out with us young kids, you know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
we went to see a movie, and the movie was called Blue. It was Steve Martin. Anyway, this had to be back a while, but it was Blue something, and the movie was rated PG-13. We went to the theater to see another movie, which I don't even remember, but it was sold out. So we had went to the theater and we were like, oh, this is the only other thing playing. Looked good. It was PG-13. We were old enough. So the adult that was there, or chaperone, made a decision and said that it would be okay that we went to this movie. So we see the movie. I don't remember how or why the parents found out that we didn't see the movie. I may have even told my parents that we saw a different movie because the other one was sold out. And I think I was shocked at the fact that we got in trouble for seeing a PG-13 movie, even though we were of age, because our morals aren't the same as worldly morals. And I should not have seen that movie, and ended up getting grounded and not being able to go out for, I don't even remember how long, simply because I saw a movie I wasn't supposed to see. And the movie wasn't even that bad. I mean, y'all, if you ever seen the movie with Steve Martin, it's old. It's really old. But how asinine. Like, okay, maybe they were okay, you shouldn't have saw the movie. Okay, fine. But to ground me for, like, I was in a position where I really didn't know what to do with myself, and the person I was with was making a decision that we thought would be okay.
Yeah, and they're all on that whole punish the group philosophy when it comes to stuff like that. You know, it's
Right.
just like,
What,
especially when you're
it
talking
wasn't that
about
serious.
kids. I mean, I've got 2 teenagers in my house right now. You know, and I think back about when I was a teenager and how I felt mentally, and I feel like I was, in some ways, I feel like I was further along in some ways than my own kids are right now. And
Mm,
it's probably because of my upbringing and everything. But I look at my kids and a
mm-hmm.
lot of the stuff that like the witnesses want to impose on kids. I look at stuff like that. I'm like, it's not a big deal. Let them be kids. Let them grow. Let them experiment a little bit, you know? And they
That's
want to
what I'm
stifle
saying.
like every little thing out of you. Like talking about movies, are you a Lord of the Rings fan by chance?
I've watched them all. Yes, I've watched them all twice. Doesn't mean I remember it, but yes, I've I like the
So,
movies.
okay. when I was a teenager, my best friend that I hung out with was like 20 years older than me. Okay. It was a single guy, single brother in my hall, you know, never married, no kids. And he was the person I hung out with all the time. Well, him,
Mm-hmm.
another guy, and me went to go see Lord of the Rings. Now, the other guy that came with us in the middle of the movie, I forget like if it was in the beginning or middle, wherever, but somewhere in the movie, he gets up and walks out of the movie. Like, I can't watch this because, of what it is. And,
Right.
but my friend and I, we stayed and finished the movie and, we liked it. But what was funny was like, and I'm sure this is probably, I don't know if this is true of all halls or of where you grew up, but like Harry Potter was like a big no-no, of course. But yet in my
Oh yeah.
congregations, I knew elders that watched Lord of the Rings, but Harry Potter was a no-no. I'm just like, um, they're kind of the same thing.
That's the thing. Different congregations would have different feelings on stuff.
Yeah.
And people don't realize like, oh, everything's the same. Everybody believes the same. Isn't it so beautiful? No, the truth is they don't.
No.
Some
So
some congregations have different standards. Yeah.
shout out to my buddy Jexit, Martin Riley. So him and I, we did a
Oh yeah,
video.
Jackson. I love Jackson.
We were talking about the differences from across the pond, between, Europe and the America of the witnesses. And I remember telling him that back when The Matrix came out, there was this brother from England that came over and visited our congregation, and he started talking about the movie The Matrix. And I'm like, but we can't watch that. It's rated R. And in Europe, their rating system is different than America. So their rating for it was a 15. And in America, our
Okay.
movies are for like 17 and up. And
Like
so,
NC-17, stuff like that. Yeah.
no,
No?
the age 17. Like rated R, they in the little caption it says, for must be 17 or older to be admitted.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's all I mean. And I remember after him telling me that about how the movie was rated differently over there, I'm like, I want to see it now. I wanted to see it anyways, but I'm just like,
Right.
how is it right that a brother in England can watch a movie that we can't in America? We're all the same religion here.
Yeah. It doesn't make sense, but and I bet you there probably are a lot of differences in some of those respects in like other countries compared to some of the congregations here. Yeah, people just think it's no, it's not all the same. That's just the lie they sell you.
Oh yeah. Oh, we are one united brotherhood and everything's the same. Actually, I've I know of another big way that even in America, but and not just the different personalities of the congregations and stuff, but how congregations are not the same. You're not learning the same thing in every congregation all over the world. And that is in the sign language congregations, because they were always about 6 months behind on the most current literature back when I was
Oh wow.
pioneering and everything, because they didn't have people to translate it fast enough. So they were always behind. So they were always learning, going through this stuff like from 6 months ago in the Watchtower than the English and Spanish speaking congregations were.
Right. I- that's unfortunate.
So
But I mean, come on. Are we surprised?
no, not, I mean, looking back, we're really not. But they try to sell you this unity thing, and you can just see how it's such bullshit everywhere you go.
Yeah. I mean, they might be united in the fact that they love each other, but that's it. And that's
Yeah,
all manufactured,
yeah,
you know.
but we know how far that love goes if you say, hey, you know what? I don't believe this anymore. I don't want to be part of this no more.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's conditional love, which
Yeah.
isn't love. Which is why I love. A conditional love isn't love. It's sad, but it's what they know, and you just roll with
Yeah.
it.
And
Learn.
sadly, I've been a part of that where you know, I say this in my story, I've shunned my own parents. They left before I did. I shunned them before I woke up. So, you know, I
Wow.
I've I've
Oh,
shared in
snap.
that. Yeah. So it
Do you have brothers and sisters?
I have one older brother. Um he is fully in J-Dub right now, and he shuns my parents and I. He doesn't call, nothing. He hasn't even he's met his oldest niece and nephew, but his youngest nephew he has not ever met.
No. That's unfortunate, isn't it? But that's love.
Yeah. Now, I will say up until because my youngest son was born in 2015, up until 2018, I'll give the excuse that it's just life. He lives in a different state and from us. So, he's a family man, I'm a family man. So we have our
Busy.
lives to take care of. So it's not like we could see each other every weekend or whatever. So from that time period, I can give him an out because of just having different lives and all that. But after that, after we left, he doesn't have any excuse. He always
Mm,
could make a phone call and be like, "Hey, how are my niece and nephews doing?" At the very least,
right.
my wife's parents, who are still fully in, and her siblings, won't even do that.
No.
So yeah,
It's heartbreaking. I'm sorry to hear that.
and
I
that's
I
that's
I
been a bone of contention this year too,
can
because like
imagine.
my wife's parents went from partially shunning her and the kids to completely shunning her and the kids. Like
Really.
they would at least reply to a text message or answer a phone call when my wife called before, and now they
Right.
don't at all. And
They won't even respond.
that's just been terrible on my wife.
How long's that been?
This has been she figured that out in February, I would say.
Mm,
So how
yeah.
a little bit ago before we started recording, I told you about the dog having to go through surgery and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, it was only at that point when my wife texted her parents and she put emergency in the text message. Then they replied. Other than that,
It's like, okay, they're obviously ignoring,
yeah.
you know what I mean? Which
Mhm.
is just so heartbreaking to think your parents are ignoring you. Like, come on.
But anyways, we're not here to drag everything down and to the gallows. So, got any more for us,
So
or do you want me to go with another one?
yeah, I could. Well, I can tell you, I've told this story before, but I don't know how many people have heard it, but I have a story about it, and this is probably around the same age. Actually, it's 16. I want to say it's 16 years old. An older brother or sister, I think a brother in our congregation died, and the funeral was during the day. So I would have had to leave school to go to the funeral. So three of us, my friend and me and my two friends, decided to leave school early. We'd go to the funeral and then go back to school. But we wanted to be there to lend our support because the older sister was still alive. We wanted to, be there. So we didn't change or anything. We dressed nice to school so that way we weren't like looking like bums or anything to go to the meeting, but we didn't change because that would have meant like we'd have to change and then change again to go back to school. I mean, I guess we didn't have to, but we
I have
didn't
a
want to do that.
feeling. I have a feeling I can see where
So,
this one's going.
I wonder, did I already give it away? So we get there, and upon entering, this one sister approaches us and tell us that we're dressed inappropriately to be here, to like be in the Kingdom Hall for the funeral. And me and my girlfriends were like, we left school. We weren't, weren't even really supposed to be here, but we got permission to leave school and come here. We didn't have, well, that's disrespectful for you to be here in Jehovah's whatever. And how would the brother's name feel, you being here dressed like that?
Jeez.
Like,
The audacity
can
of
you
people, I
imagine saying
swear.
dude is dead. The dude is dead. He would be upset with us for coming to his funeral not in a dress, because I mean, but worldly people were there. There were some worldly people there in their jeans. That's
Yeah.
okay. But because we
Yeah.
weren't there in skirts, it was disrespectful, and we were probably better off not even going, because that's how disrespectful it was.
That's just ridiculous.
Right?
Yeah. It's
Let's see.
like you can't even give me the benefit of the doubt for being respectful enough to the person that passed away to show up to their funeral.
To
All you
care,
can concentrate
to
on
even
is
care about the,
that I didn't wear a dress.
and first off, we're already emotional.
What the heck?
That's weird.
I'm getting another time limit thing here.
I just saw it. Yeah, I
This
just
is
saw it.
driving me nuts today. I mean, we're at 30
Zoom, why I oughta.
minutes. I know, right? Let me go ahead. Well, we still got some time here. I'll just edit that little part out. When it gets down to like 2
Yeah.
minutes or so, then we'll switch it out again. It won't be a big deal.
Sure.
So
We'll bounce around. We got this.
we got this. So I'll tell my next story here. Now, my mom.
Okay. What you got?
when-
What's the lowdown?
The lowdown. My mom was always a good singer. Okay, my mom was not raised a witness. She came in when she was a teenager. So as a young girl, she actually got to sing in the choir at her church. So she was always a good singer.
Okay.
And growing up, she was one of the ones that would lead the congregation when singing and everything. And that always made me enjoy singing the songs at the hall too. And so when I was a teenager, of course, I'm baptized already at this point. I'm running the sound room. And in our Kingdom Hall at the time, the room for the sound department was in the very back of the hall. You had the entrance here, and you had the sound room here just past the foyer with a window, a little window that you could see into the congregation with, but it also had a door to the room that you could close off, and you were like sealed off from the hall basically in this little room. And
wow,
whenever the songs would come on, I would just go outside the booth, stand just in front of it. So I was always right there by the sound booth, so I could sing with the congregation because I enjoyed doing that.
Right.
So this brother, ministerial servant, who was the one in charge of the sound department at the time at my hall, comes up to me and tells me, "Hey, whenever you're running the sound booth, you need to stay in the sound booth at all times, even when singing." I go, "Why?" People hate
Who
that
made that rule?
question. Yeah, I'm like, "Why?" I'm like, "I'm right here watching it." And he gave me this look like he didn't give me an answer, mind you. But it was,
He didn't
you
need
could
to, is
tell,
what he's trying to say, right?
exactly. You could tell it was one of those points where people who expect you to just do as I say.
Fold.
Yeah. And don't question me kind of people. And when I asked him why, he was like all thrown off. I'm just like, I like singing with the congregation. Why? I don't want to sit inside this booth singing to myself. And it's
right?
not like anybody's gonna touch the soundboard. I'm still right here watching it.
Right. Who's well, maybe the demons. Maybe demons would go in there and touch the buttons. It's
You
possible.
know,
You can't tell me
it
it couldn't
is.
happen.
I mean, I see it on the news where people get knocked up by demons. So you know.
I keep trying. I keep trying, and it's not happened yet. So I don't know. I'll let y'all know. Okay, so I have another story. So me and my mother like jewelry. Well, I used to like jewelry, and then I had it like beaten out of me. No, not beaten physically. So here's the story. So I used to wear rings on my fingers and rings on my toes. Jezebel, duh. But of course, there would always be public talks about being gaudy, wearing like too much. It was always about females. Like, come on. Maybe once in a while you get the brother with a wrinkled suit jacket or some dumb shit like that. But generally,
or
all
not
those
wearing a
talks were
jacket.
about, oh yeah, right. Like, because you got to be hot and stuffy at all effing times. Like, come on. Or your button not button. Like, come on, just please. I just can't with this shit.
Yeah.
Because this is like colonialization. This shit is not in the Bible. This is not what the biblical writers wore. This is not what Jesus wore. This is all like colonized minds telling us how we're supposed to dress to be seen in a certain way. It's absolutely ridiculous. And let me tell you, like, you got to be freaking having some kind of money to be able to be a Christian, because you got to dress in a certain way when you're at church, and you got to make sure you can donate. So even if you're poor, you're always pressing yourself to like pulling blood from a stone just to be able to give money to the church. Tell me how that's wrong when people are poor. Anyway, so as the story goes, like to wear rings. My mom wears rings a lot, and she gets a lot of like dirty looks from people. I have a drawer here with all of my rings in it because I go to the gym, so I have to take them off. Otherwise, I'll get like big whatchamacallits. So I wear rings on my toes. And you know what? I'm going to buy some toe rings because of this. Because of this here today, I'm going to buy some toe rings, and I'm going to show y'all. I'm going to show y'all my toes, my toe rings after I get them. So a sister comes up to me and tells me that, did you know that the sex workers, that's not the word that was used, but I'm going to use the right words. The sex workers on such and such island, I don't even know what island is, wear rings on their toes to let the men know that they're open for business. Is that what you want to be portraying to the brothers here in the Kingdom Hall?
And how old were you again?
Are you a teenager? I was younger than 18.
Jesus.
Yeah,
Christ.
so I haven't really, I mean, I kind of wore them for a while in my 20s, I think, but I always had this, like, I always went back to that thought that, like, am I seen as a sex worker because I have rings on my toes? So I think I'm going to go buy some toe rings because of that.
I just have one question about this. So when you get these rings,
Sure.
and you make a video and you put it on TikTok, are you going to call it TikTok toe?
Yes. Now I am.
Sorry,
thanks to you.
When you said that, the first thing I could think of, sorry.
Show idea.
TikTok toe.
TikTok toe. I got it. Wait, I'm gonna draw a little foot here. Oh shit, that's a hand. That ain't no goddamn foot. What the fuck did I do?
Make sure when you write the notes for this show, you make some footnotes. I'll see myself out.
Very punny.
Yes.
Gotta hand it to you. You're clever. I said you were clever. Oh shit, we're at our 2-minute now. Oh dear.
We're at the 2-minute warning on the 20-yard line, driving to the end zone. No.
You ain't got to leave, but you got to get the F out of here. Oh wait, no, you got to leave, but you
You
Yeah,
don't have
we'll
to
be
go home,
back.
but you got to get the fuck out of here. How about that?
Yeah, that's thank you for correct. Yeah, because I just couldn't get it out my mouth.
And we left off with you talking about your cringeworthy clothing story.
Yeah.
And
How dare I wear rings?
how dare you wear rings?
Rings on my toes. And even too many rings on your fingers is obviously not good either. That's a sign that you're like a Jezebel.
Well, jumping back in, I've got, it's not cringeworthy as clothes, but so back in 2013, I moved to Virginia for the first time. And yes, I moved away and I moved back since 2013. But I moved up here because when I was working in Florida as a welder, I kept getting laid off. I ended up losing a house, and work was just not steady for me. And I had a friend tell me about the shipyard up here. I work at a shipyard that builds submarines and aircraft carriers for the U.S. Navy.
Oh,
Well,
cool.
in 2013, I was still a JW, and I left in 2018, just for anybody who doesn't know. And I moved up here in 2013 to work at this yard that makes submarines and aircraft carriers. Now, when I applied for the job and everything, I did research on the company, and it said that they also do commercial work. And my brain said, well, that'll be okay if I work there, if I get into the commercial side of it and not the Navy side, because you know how the witnesses are
Right.
about neutrality.
Right. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, I got up here and I started working at the yard. And mind you, for a welder at that time, I had an easy ass fucking job. And I mean, I could sit on my ass all night long. I had a bench vise. I was doing pipe welding. I could put these little pipe joints in it, weld them up, nice and easy, no climbing, all sorts, easy job. My toolbox was right there. You know, nothing hard about this job whatsoever. And so, come to find out, while I was working there, yes, they did do commercial work, but they stopped doing that a long time ago. They only do Navy work. Okay, I didn't feel bad about working there because for the first time, like ever, I had a job that was steady. I wasn't going to get laid off from. I was supporting my family.
It was pretty good money, I would assume too, right?
Better money than I was making in Florida. Yeah, it's not too bad. And so after the meeting one day, a couple elders pulled me into the back room. And they're like, you know, brother, you really need to find another job. That whole speech.
Oh, fuck you. Fuck you.
And here's what they said though. This is what really puts the icing on the cake. They go, because you know, if you're working there and Armageddon comes, you're gonna get destroyed right along with everybody else because you work there. It's basically what they said.
Did you believe that at the time?
I was still indoctrinated. Now, my journey for waking up, what took me a period of 10 years to fully wake up, from remembering when my first doubt was to the time I fully woke up was a period of 10 years. And this was in the middle of that. So I had already had doubts. I had actually already explored, what's that, the JW.net forum.
Oh, like JW. Okay, yeah.
Jehovah's-Witnesses.com, you know, that one where it has all it's just, there's no videos, but just people, you know, a chat room basically. And
Okay.
I'd already been on there, but at that point, mentally, I was believing it more. My parents were out at that time, and I was in. And so, but me being me,
Oh
oh,
boy.
I went home and I did research in Watchtower literature. And you really get a feeling for how elders and witnesses take when you say anything against what they tell you, when you prove their own what they tell you is bullshit from their own literature. I don't remember where it was from at this right now because it was that long ago, but I found a Watchtower article. I want to say it was from like the 50s or 60s, right? About how Jehovah is selective in his judgments. As long as your heart's in the right place, even if you're not in the right place, you'll be okay, basically, is what it said. And I took that, and the following week, I called the elders back in the room, and I showed them that Watchtower.
Did you?
Oh, yeah.
Would
Oh,
they
yeah.
say they were probably pissed? They were probably upset that you even did that.
They looked at me, they were just like they didn't know what to say at all. They were just like, oh, okay, well, thank you for showing us that. And that was about it. They ended it.
Damn.
Now,
That was brilliant.
do you know that according to the Elder's Manual, if you're working a non-neutral job, that you basically have, I'm sure there's a little leeway, but you basically have about 6 months, maybe a year to find another job if you're not working in one that they approve of. Now, this was back in, I want to say they called me to the back room around 2013, 2014. Okay. I moved out of Virginia in 2017. So that entire 4 years, I worked at the shipyard as a JW, and they never disassociated me like they were
Really?
supposed to, according to their book.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I have no idea why they did it.
Interesting.
Because like at that point, I was not in a hall where I had any family members who were elders or anything. So even though I grew up as an elders kid, I didn't have like that extra protection because I was in a state that I didn't grow up in. So people didn't really know me from anybody, and they never disassociated me for it.
Wow. You really lucked out on that one.
Yeah.
Sheesh.
But I just,
I wonder if it would have been different if it was a female.
Maybe. But I look back at that now and I'm like, I'm really proud of myself for sticking it to them like that with their own literature.
I am too. I am too. I kind of wish I would have done some stuff like that. I tell you what, if I could do it all over, I certainly would.
Yeah,
But yeah, that was brilliant. That's what you should be doing.
if you could do it all over, knowing what you know now, that would be fun.
Oh my God, would it? Oh, would it be ever?
It
Yeah,
would
I
make
would. I
things
would
so much
definitely
easier.
be. Yeah, it would definitely make things so much easier. And I would have left as a teenager. Like I probably would have moved, like figured my life out and just like left my parents' house probably. And that's probably what I would have ended up doing. But c'est la vie. Here we are. One life to live. This is it. 420, just blaze.
You know, I was just about to say that, but I can't really do that though because of my job. So
Sorry, Charlie. I'll do it for you.
do you grow your own?
Again, cheers. No, I don't, but I have a great I have a great source.
Well, do not reveal your sources unless it's for good research.
Exactly. Yes, the only sources I reveal are jstore.org. That's the only source I give people, jstore.org. That's where you get all your information, people.
But yeah, it was definitely like, think even at that time when I was still in, it felt good to just stand up and show them stuff from their own literature that like totally totally just
Mm-hmm.
took away what they said out of their hands, because like they can't argue when it's in their own literature. And I even had the article in hand and showed it to them when I did that. So
Yeah. Hats off to you for doing it, because I think if more people did that, I think they'd be forced to make a lot of change, but people aren't going to do that kind of thing.
but I mean, that's just the thing with the witnesses, though. I mean, how when I look back, like I don't remember what Watchtower articles said or anything growing up. I mean, I did my lessons once in a while. I didn't do them every week. I wasn't like that kind of JW, but but I was up until the time I was in my early 20s. I was always at the meetings, always out in service, et cetera, et cetera. It was after I got married that I was started to become very irregular. Thank you to my wife for that, by the way. And be, and so even with all that indoctrination and going to the meetings like that, I never remembered what was in the watchtowers. Like I couldn't have told you what a watchtower said a couple years ago from whenever or anything like that. I never remembered that kind of stuff, and I think the organization banks on that, so that way they can just say whatever they want to say in the next watchtower and totally dismiss what they said already.
They always give so much mumbo jumbo, and the lines are always so blurry. It's on purpose.
Oh yeah.
Some things are focused on, then they're not the focus. It's just all a ploy to, oh, look over here, oh no, now look over here, oh. It just keeps them going, thinking that things are happening, change is happening, direction is being
It's the whole carrot and the stick.
honey, you could just read your Bible at home. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just a scenario where you're just going to continuously feel like you need to get your information, your spiritual food from an organization who just wants your money.
Yeah, exactly.
Wants your money and your time. They don't care about you.
And all your slave
Mark
labor.
Sanderson lied. He does not care about you. Yes, it's slave labor.
It is, yeah.
And you know what? That's a great. I wonder, why are we not allowed to raise a claim about the child labor? Like if Scientology can raise claims about child labor and things like that, why can't we as ex-witnesses go head to head with the way that they force kids to go out in field service?
Oh, I'm sure we could. And when I look at like the Australian Royal Commission, Justice Stewart, he was fantastic because he researched the organization before he went in front of the
Thank goodness.
judges. And he researched
Thank
for
goodness
like,
he had.
I think it was like 2 or 3 years worth of studying up on the witnesses before the commission happened that he did. So he was prepared for it. And he was just fantastic. Like he knew everything like clockwork. I hope that we can find another lawyer out there like that, that's willing to put in that effort to study and find out and know which questions to ask and where to nail them at and take them to trial and to task for things like that.
Somebody's going to. There's going to be some witness kids at some point that are going to start. I mean, I'm doing what I can from my angle, but I guarantee there's going to eventually be some kid who's lost his mother to the blood doctor, and they decide that, she wants to become a lawyer and take down the freaking organization. Eventually there's going to be people who really start doing more. Not that there isn't pushing being done already, because there is. There's a lot of people doing a lot of amazing work.
But
I think more and more and more people will eventually.
Yeah.
I hope.
And more awareness is being brought up too, you know, between YouTube, TikTok, all the programs on TV that are about it. I mean,
Right?
JWs can only bury their head in the sand so long before they see one of these things happen on media somewhere.
Yeah, before it comes across one of their screens, whether it be, you know, because a lot of people have deleted their social media because they're afraid what's going to go, you know, be seen on their feed. But at some point you're going to watch the news and they're going to do a little expose on
Oh
the
yeah,
J-Dubs or something.
it's like me and my waking when I finally the year I fully woke up, I wasn't looking outside the organization at stuff at this point. I actually was having a crap ton of car problems, and I was on YouTube a lot looking at videos to help me repair stuff and learn how to do things. And on my home screen feed, not the part where you subscribe to channels, but just the feed where it gives you like suggested stuff and everything,
Right.
started popping up, you know, apostate videos. And
Oh,
I
really?
and I never searched for it. I swear I swear to the spaghetti monster, I never searched for it. but but they started popping up. I started looking at them, and I would click on one. I watched it a little bit, and then of course, you know, your JW brain kicks in. Oh, I can't be watching this. This is apostate stuff.
Right. Oh no.
But what was funny was like what I recall is the little bit at the beginning that I did watch made sense. And so that piqued my critical thinking brain saying, hey, something's clicking on these videos. Let's go see a little bit more, see what they actually have to say. And, you know, if it really is the truth that you're in, then this won't be a big deal. But if it's not, wouldn't you like to know? And so
Right.
I gave myself permission to start watching videos. And now I was in Tennessee at the time, and I had a job where I could actually set my phone up on my toolbox, put YouTube videos on all day long while I worked, because mostly the stuff was just, you know, talking. So it's not like I really had to sit there and watch it intently. And I would listen to
Right.
this. I started watching apostate videos like every day at work, all day, every day. Nobody, I mean,
Wow.
some people at work knew I was a witness, but others didn't, you know. But even then, they didn't come and look at my phone and like they didn't care what I watched or nothing because, you know, they weren't witnesses policing
Right.
me
Yeah,
there
they're
or
not going
anything.
to be
So
telling on you.
I didn't, yeah, so I didn't have that to
Right.
worry about. And, you know, I mean, I binged the Lloyd Evans channel. I binged Susan Gaskin
Same.
and Mike and Kimmy and
Oh, I don't know if I know that one.
and and others. And so like, and then what would happen was when I was watching their videos, they would mention a scripture or an article or something from the JW literature. And I'm like, well, let me go check this. Even though they would put it on the screen and show you, I still said, okay, let me go check this. So I went and I checked it myself on the JW library. Word for word, not a thing missing, not out of context, nothing. And that was all of the time. I haven't seen any instances where ex-witnesses have misquoted what the JW say. And I was just like, well, these people aren't lying about us.
Something's up with that.
Something's going on here. And then, of course, once I found out about the whole Australian Royal Commission and saw Jackson, excuse me, that was it.
Yeah.
That was my last convention was in
Canoe.
2018. And after the convention a few weeks later, I told my wife that I no longer believed in it. And of course, for spoiler alert, I know you said you haven't seen my full story yet, but she never believed it. She went along with it because I believed it. So remarkable woman right there.
Ah.
And so when I finally told her
Aw.
I don't
So
believe
even
it,
though she came into the religion, as a teenager, right? So
she
she
was
was
born into it.
just,
No, my wife was born into it.
oh, she was.
No, you're mixing up. My mother
Okay.
was the one that came in as a teenager. My wife was born into it.
My bad. Okay.
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay, but she didn't really ever.
No, she was a victim of abuse herself, CSA as a kid, and
Sorry.
and
Sorry to hear that. Yeah.
and after that happened, she said, she's like, how can I ever believe in a loving God if this stuff happens to me and nothing is done about it? Because nothing was done about it.
Right.
And
No justice.
no, not at all. And quick thing on that is, right after we got married, so I married her. She was 18. I was 21 when we got married. And not too long after we got married, the elders from her former congregation where she was abused in called her in as a witness because this guy had struck again. And I went with her and was sitting in that back room with the perpetrator in the room with us. And he was sitting there blaming her for what he did to her. Now, at that point,
I want to punch his face in the face.
At that point, I was still fully indoctrinated JW, like didn't even have my first doubts yet. I did want to reach across and hit him for that, but I didn't. But if it was now that happened,
Well, I mean, yeah, but you can't.
Why not? He would have deserved every bit of it. I probably would have now.
Exactly. Hell yeah.
But
yeah, I feel you.
I'm just, so she never believed it, and she only stayed in because of my dumbass. So, but when I told her finally, she asked me one morning, we were getting ready to go to her parents' meeting because we moved to Tennessee to be closer to her parents because they were still witnesses at the time. And she was working nights, I was working days, and she had gotten off work. She was showering, and we were getting ready to go to her parents' meeting that morning. And she asked me, she's like, do you believe it anymore? And at that point, I was like, well, in my head, I had two choices here. Just come out and say it and see what happens, or push it off longer, say, well, yeah, I do believe it, and, write it out longer. And at that point I was like, no, I don't believe it anymore. And she was like, okay. And I was worried about telling her just because we had moved to Tennessee to be closer to her parents, and we were doing things with her family a lot at that point and everything. And my biggest concern was for her and her emotional well-being of leaving her parents and all that.
Right.
No, Morgan.
I said, Daddy? Daddy, you better get your ass out here, Daddy.
So
oh man, that's wild.
And
she was just hanging on for you, buddy. She was hanging on for you. She was waiting for you to say you didn't believe anymore. She was like, how the frick are you?
Yeah. And so, of course, she knew the consequences of what leaving meant and everything. And so that day after the meeting, she was visibly upset while she was at her parents' house. And so I had to lie to her dad and all that, just telling him she was depressed or whatever, just not gonna,
yeah, not
her dad's an elder, and he is a very patriarchal, misogynistic narcissist. So
I know all about that. Yeah. Okay.
And because just a quick bit on that part, my wife and I, when we were dating, we did stuff we weren't supposed to do before marriage, I'll just say.
How dare you?
I
Okay, I
know.
gotta go now. I'm very disappointed.
Well, you know
Too
what?
worldly.
You know what? You should have been proud of me, not disappointed. You're no longer my friend.
Okay, I'm very proud of you.
But
You apostates, I'm so proud of you.
but when we told her parents the one day at her parents' dinner table about it and everything, he looked at us and he goes, "This was his literal words, and this is actually I remember this so clearly. This was his exact words. He goes, "How could you do this to me?" I'm like, in my head, I'm like, I didn't do nothing to you. But looking
Right?
back now, he was worried about his privileges as an elder and losing his position in the congregation.
Yes. Yes.
That's what he was worried about.
See, people don't realize like how the family has to fall in line. The family has to obey and do things right, because everything that the family does falls on the backs of the elder, the ministerial servant, or whatever.
Yep.
So if the kids aren't getting shit right, then you might be removed. Your position could be like null and void.
Yeah, exactly. And there was other things later on too that clued me into that as well. Of course, a lot of this is post-reflective, looking back at things now that I've learned what narcissism is and all that.
2020.
And yeah, definitely. And looking back, it's just like, boy, you just all the signs, they were right there, and right in your face. But when you're born and raised in it, you don't see it because you just see it as normal.
That's why it's so important that they indoctrinate us when we're young, because when we're young, we see things for what they are. We can see through the bullshit. You can only hide so much from a child. But
Mm-hmm.
as an adult, if you've been indoctrinated to believe, if you've just been forced down your throat, you just don't ask the questions as an adult, because that's how it's been. That's why they
Yeah.
got to get us so young and beat it out of us. They got to beat those questions out of us. So as adults, we just accept narcissistic abuse and bad behaviors, misogyny, etc.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Oh yeah. So, do you have any more to share?
Sheesh, I mean, I know I've got like millions of stories, but I'm not sure if I can think of any other stories. You know? I feel like there's got to be stories. And I always have like so much shit to say. I can't even think of anything. Isn't that terrible?
Yeah, it's getting her to shut up. That's the problem. No.
Right? Like, come on now. Like, usually I got
know.
I got stories upon stories, and now I'm like,
and like your TikToks are always like
was I
10
even in
minutes
this
long.
religion? No, like I'm like trying to scramble to fit shit in, like to make it like fit the time, because I sometimes I gotta like speed up my videos and my voice sounds all weird because I'm trying to shove a bunch of shit in, and now I can't think of anything. But there is so much. There really is so much. Well, I can tell you that my first set of baptismal questions I failed, because I think they could tell. Yeah, come on now. Because I think they could tell I wasn't in it. I didn't I really didn't want to do it. It was kind of just, I mean, I was excited to do it. I don't want to lie. In my head, I thought I was excited to get baptized. I was kind of told this was the next step in order to get, freedoms and to be seen as like an example, etc. Because there's other young kids in the congregation, yada yada. So and really it was one of my best friends said to me, we really need to start thinking about getting baptized because we need to set an example for people. I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll do it. So I really didn't want to do it, but I felt like, okay, this is what I'm supposed to do. I'll be baptized at some point anyway, so why not now?
Did you
Bad idea.
how old were you when you got baptized?
I have 15.
15.
So I tried at 14, but didn't make it till 15. Not funny.
That is funny.
Yeah.
But I never actually heard of
And
anybody
I think
who
I just turned 15.
never heard of anybody who didn't pass
What
the
are you trying
baptismal
to say,
questions.
James? Excuse me. What are you trying to say?
I'm trying to say
Am I
that
stupid?
if you were in a
Yes.
race with a sloth, the sloth would have won. No, I'm just joking.
No. You know what it is? You know what it is? It was the gods. It was the gods trying to tell me, don't do it, Ryan. Do not do it. And I didn't listen.
I think
I didn't see the signs.
if
So boom.
if gods are trying to tell you something, you might need to see a therapist. I'm just saying.
I wish that I could see things, feel things. I wish that my brain worked like that. But it to some extent it does. You know, I have a little woo in me. I do a little woo, but my woo is really about like self-care. My woo is about like connecting with my inner self. And you know, sometimes we don't ask ourselves the questions we really need to ask. And that's kind of what I see the woo part of me is. I don't
Mhm.
necessarily see it as like an entity or something else. You know, although I wish, like I said, if you're out there, aliens, whatever it might be, holla.
Yeah.
Holla, you know where I am, come get me.
Holla at your koala. You know Jay
Holla
the
at your
comedian?
koala. I think, yes, I was just going to say that's
That's
from,
what he
yeah, I
says
was
all the
just going to
time.
say that. Yeah, I like Jay the comedian. I watch his stuff all the time. Yeah, he seems pretty cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up with that.
Wrap it up. Okay.
Wrap it
I
up.
hope I gave some good stories. You know what the thing is, you know what's going to happen, because how my brain works is like later on in the day, I'll be like, why didn't you tell that story? That story. Why didn't you tell that story? Yeah.
Well, how about you do this then?
Probably gonna
Let's
happen.
do this, because I still got some more that I could tell as well. Why don't you, when you remember those, quickly, you always have your phone on you, right? I have an iPhone. Here's what I do with my
Yep.
phone. I use my notes on my phone religiously. Okay. And
Oh yeah.
whenever I think of something
Oh,
or
yeah.
like I have an idea or whatever, I'll write it down in a note on my phone. I'll make a new note about it so I remember it later. So do that. When you remember
I'm
it
gonna do that
later,
for stories.
write it down, and then maybe we can do a part 2 of this.
I'm down for a part 2. I know I got tons of stories. Absolutely. So I will write them down.
So
And
you heard
we'll
it
do
here
this again.
first,
I like
folks. Stay tuned for part deuce on the stories.
it. Whoop whoop.
Wait, that's the peace sign. We can't do that.
I like it.
Remember
Oh
when they were
yeah,
all
don't
funny
do
about
that. That's wicked.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Lucky. I said Lucky earlier, and Lucky, we weren't allowed to
Oh
say
yeah.
Lucky. I mean, come on now.
I
Oh wait,
know.
I have a story, a quick story. Let me tell you one more quick story. How about that? Let end it with a blast.
Okay, let's go.
I got like a minute. So we couldn't say jinx, right? That was not
Mhm.
allowed. I don't know if you weren't allowed to say jinx, but we couldn't say jinx because that had to deal with luck. So me and my friends made up a saying that we would say, and it was Richie Rich. So anytime we would say something at the same time, we would say Richie Rich. And to this day, me and my JW friends, when we jinx, we say Richie Rich. I like that. We had our workaround for
Was it
the
was it because you
words and
liked
stuff we couldn't say.
the movie?
You know, I think it was, I couldn't even tell you because we were teenagers and Richie Rich was a cartoon when we were kids.
No, but
And
there
I
was
don't
a
even know
movie
if
about it
that
in the
movie was,
90s with Macaulay Culkin.
oh, so then maybe that's what it was. Maybe it was at that, I might That's so funny because if I look up the date, I wonder if that's around the time. Okay, now I got stuff to do. We'll come back to that on part 2. How about that?
Part deuce. Yes, stay tuned,
Part
folks.
deuce.
All right, then. We will wrap it up with that then. Ryan, thanks for coming and joining me today. This was a lot of fun.
Yeah,
You were a
excellent.
blast to talk to,
It
and
was dope.
definitely want to do this again.
You too.
And for all the viewers out there, thank you for joining us on our rantings and mumblings on. And please, if you can, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and help the algorithms to push these videos so it gets out to more witnesses and help them to see
Comment.
what kind of crazy shit they're wrapped up in. And comment.
No nonsense. These stories didn't need to happen.
Definitely leave a comment below about your experience as well. And if you want to, shoot me a message. My email is in my About Me section on my YouTube channel. And email me and we can get you on if you want to tell your experiences as well.
Yeah, it's always good to add to the community, man. Add your voice to the community because you matter. They like to make you feel that you don't matter in the organization, that you're too small and you're not worthy. Nope. We care about you and your voice matters.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Couldn't have said it better myself. With that, we will call it quits. So thank you.